do not notice how quickly things change and how it impacts our jobs, our environment, our society. This one, try to take a selfie with this one. You can't, right? All that was kind of an incremental progress where the next step wasn't possible before we actually mastered the previous one.
Welcome to this edition of Startup with Poland, the show where we speak with the movers and shakers from Poland's startup ecosystem. My name is Tessa McIver and I am your host. My guest today is Michał Lasocki, a partner at EEC Ventures, which is a leading VC fund investing in innovative companies from the energy transition, climate, and digital transformation domains. Today, of course, I want to find out from Michał as much as possible about the work he does at EEC Ventures, but also I'm really keen to find out why this matters. Michał, welcome to Startup with Poland.
My pleasure. Hello.
Hello, and I am dying to know, first of all, a little bit more about EEC Ventures. So what exactly you invest in, from what geographies, if you can give us more detail on that before we delve into some further details.
Absolutely. EEC Ventures is a fund management company, so you may also associate it with venture capital funds we run. And EEC stands for Energy Efficiency and Clean Technologies.
Okay.
That is the investment scope that has been chosen more than 10 years ago. And at that time, it wasn't an obvious choice because people were after gaming, e-commerce, social media. This wasn't an obvious choice. I have to say that my partners who founded the company made a brave move.
Yeah,
and it paid because in this specific domain, you need to collect a lot of industry expertise, proper network and experience to be able to do the VC job properly. We currently run two funds. One of them is a seed fund. Another one is a growth fund around round A. The total assets under management are 210 million Polish zloty, so it isn't bad for Poland. And our geographical scope is mainly Poland. We cover two investment verticals. One is energy transition and climate transition. And second one would be digital transformation of enterprises. And people say, what's that exactly? It's not an enumerated list of things. It's anything that makes traditional industry more competitive by digital means.
Okay, well, that's fascinating. And I think, wonderful that, the founders indeed found this niche, which now is obviously not really a niche, but actually an upcoming, really booming trend. So, fantastic to get that background. But, really thinking about what's going on today. It's become quite, a sexy thing for young people, not only young people, but, to found their innovative tech companies. More and more people are thinking, it's a good idea to invest in startups and innovative tech. But is that actually the reality? Is this not just, a sort of FOMO, this is the current trend, but actually does it make financial sense for people to start startups, to found startups, and also for those with money to actually invest in startups?
Simply saying yes, but a more detailed answer would be that venture capital is just an asset class, so it's part of the financial market, which is cyclical by nature. So I was 29, I started my first company, and that was exactly the wrong moment because it was 3 months before the dot-com bust.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that there's no internet, yes? We all enjoy products and services that originated back then. It's just a fact of life that there will be periods when lots of people want to invest. There's a hype. And then there is a moment when everybody says, no, it doesn't make sense. And in a way, they are both wrong. It's like you look at the stock exchange and you say, is it worth making money? Is it worth investing in stocks? Depends when and what. But you cannot say, no, it doesn't make sense. There will always be some shares that will return nicely, and there will always be some which are overvalued. So financial markets are cyclical. interest rates are cyclical. What is not cyclical is people's invention and ingenuity. So good ideas, people arrive at good ideas every day, every month, every quarter. I can see that. It's just that it's a little bit different to set up a company during hype times and, let's say, during downturn times.
Okay.
There is a completely different set of challenges for founders. It's difficult, which is more challenging. Just to give you an example, in times like today, resources are cheaper. You can get better people at better prices. You can probably create a more coherent team. Therefore, founders' interests will be more aligned. People would be more patient. So there's a number of advantages. And if you consider a company kind of an act of creation of an entrepreneur, I would say this is a more beautiful example of a company. And they are more lean, they're more agile, they are less bragging about themselves maybe. And in the long run, I think they will last longer.
Okay.
So by all means, do not give up and do the right planning, have a good idea. Do it maybe in a bit more frugal way that you would do it if people were throwing millions at you, but don't stop.
Okay, because I mean, that's the thing, in the last 2 years, we see all these graphs of how, the amount of financing going into innovative tech has just, rapidly decreased. I mean, is that because those, who have the money have decided, okay, it's safer to invest in something else, or, what's going on, and will that trend change, as you say, with these cycles?
For sure it will. And I can again bring back the memories from the dot-com explosion and then the dot-com bust. There are stages, yes. Some people say, no, this is ridiculous. Then the next stage is, I'll try. Then the next stage is, everyone is trying. And then there is a bust. And then people say, I knew it's gonna happen. Of course, it's easy to say, but the fact is that you simply need certain discipline. There are times when you do not invest. There are times when you do. And it's just with every other asset class, with real estate, with shares, you name it, yes, with cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so it's all, we should not feel any panic because everything is...
Yes, it's just normal.
I'll take your word for it. But what about when we look at, approach the topic of innovative tech from the perspective of actually making a positive impact on the world? So, this is something that at EEC, you're very much, I presume, involved in. But are these technologies that you look at, but generally that are mushrooming, are they actually genuinely making a good impact, or is it again, a case of a trend? And how much do you think that they can potentially impact on our world?
The answer is it depends, because there are two overlapping things. Let's say the old good-fashioned financial markets, when basically greed combats fear. So people would like to make money, but they are afraid of, so they make some financial decisions and see what happens. By which I mean, if you invest, you should return a profit.
Yeah.
And then there is another thing, you could call it impact investing, where people say, okay, I don't really care about the financial outcome, but I want to make an impact. I want to help the planet.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just different. And for every investor and for every fund manager, you need to be very well aware of what are the goals of your investors, of people who entrust you money. Because if they want to make profits the old-fashioned way, you cannot come back and say, well, I lost it, but I helped the planet enormously. I mean, you can, but...
They may not be so happy.
Exactly. So everything depends. Usually for a fund manager, there is a pretty thick investment agreement with your investors. And then you have, let's say, the boundaries, what you can do. And if they are okay with taking bigger risk, if they are okay with funding more, let's say, risky undertakings, why not? Yes, but it's about being transparent, and it's about being in touch with them, whether they like it, whether they agree.
But is it possible, like genuinely, to combine both, to make the profits and make the positive impact?
I do believe we are the proof, because our fund is on track to return predicted returns, and we can prove it has, let's say, improved a lot. We really have the planet.
Fantastic to hear that there can be the best of both worlds, a win-win on both sides. But Michał, you know, when you look at your job, what is it that excites you? Well, you know, makes you get up in the morning and driving to go?
Well, there's a number of things. One of them is that every day is different, and you get to meet a lot of fantastic people, and you learn from people who are smarter than you. That's a big privilege, frankly. And secondly, that I can follow my, let's say, passion, and I could simply observe or even be part of the change, the technological change. Mm-hmm. The way I see the business ecosystem is that it's like a rainforest. Yes, you have big trees who grow, and they fall and they go into pieces, and then there are new trees which grow on top of those. And this is how I see business. There are, let's say, usually a couple of incumbent players who do the business the usual way, and then there are lots of smaller, more agile players who say, actually, why don't we try something new? And they are wrong, we're right. We're gonna prove it, just give us money. So this is this ongoing clash of intellect, yes, thinking out of the box. Mm-hmm. And this is fascinating to watch. It's like, it's better than movies or sport. And secondly, it's my job, it's my time, and it's my money. So it's, at some point, it's getting personal. I am in charge of finding out the people who will be the winners. I need to support them with the money. I need to convince them to partner with us, and then to support them until the successful exit, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And we do not notice the incremental change sometimes. When something suddenly happens, like bang, there was this first moon landing, yes, first electric car. Everybody says that's a progress. But in fact, progress is incremental. And we do not notice how quickly things change and how it impacts our jobs, our environment, our society. Let me make a small experiment.
Okay.
Can I have your mobile phone for a moment? No, it's not.
I don't have it on me right now, but I have an iPhone, if that makes...
Cool. You would probably say it's state of the art.
Yeah, it's not the newest model, but yeah, I guess, you know.
So let's take a walk and see what changed in telecommunications and in the internet. So for starters, how about this? Was this state of the art?
Yes,
old BlackBerry.
It was. I remember my
Cool.
BlackBerry, and I loved it.
Nokia communicator.
Yes.
Yet another one.
Yeah, it was also state of the art.
Famous everlasting Nokia.
Yes.
The one to, let's say, hammer down the nails and cut down trees.
I remember that one. I had that one as well.
And finally, this one. Try to take a selfie with this one. You can't, right? So just imagine how many things have changed. People came across a simple idea that copper wires can not only convey voice, but also data. And then there was World Wide Web. Then there were browser wars, Netscape and stuff. Then there was Google. There were search engine wars. Then there was online advertising. Then it was e-commerce. Then it was social media. Then were apps. Then what happened next? Let me think for a moment. Cloud computing, IoT, cryptocurrencies, artificial intelligence. That's obvious for today. But all that was kind of an incremental progress where the next step wasn't possible before we actually mastered the previous one. And by all means, it's not over. In 2-3 years, we'll find out something new, something great, which was made possible by the recent development on this stack.
I wonder whether my iPhone will be lying here as the, you know, sort of historical...
Very likely, very likely. If you can keep it in your drawer for the next edition of our meeting, I would appreciate that.
I will do. I absolutely will do.
So this is, in my opinion, the coolest part of my job, that I need to stay on top and I need to be in touch with people who know better than I do.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really, I can see that's really,
and I get
what
paid for
motivates
it,
you.
actually.
So that's, I think, you know, a fantastic position to be in, where you really feel inspired and genuinely enjoy what you're doing and what you're observing. And I really like this analogy that it's like better than watching, a movie or whatever, that you can really sort of see these changes happening, and that's exciting.
For me, yes.
But what about the future? I always love, looking into how things are going to change. Of course, none of us know, but I think that's what makes it exciting about, thinking about it, aside from the fact that my iPhone may well be lying here as an exhibit of an example of the past. Where do you see, if you were to make a prediction in the next, 5 to 10 years, the startup ecosystem or innovative tech ecosystem, where will we be in Poland, maybe also globally? What are your predictions of the state of the ecosystem?
Okay, like someone said, making prediction is tough, especially about the future, but I'll try. Assuming that Poland is going to grow as part of Europe, which is very likely, we will see a number of things. First of all, we will better integrate with European support mechanisms for startups. So there will be more money, more networking opportunities, and more support for founders. What we have now is absolutely incomparable to what was when I founded my first startup. Yes, and therefore I hope that future founders will find it even easier to start. Yes, EU most likely is going to continue and increase funding for all kinds of grants, R&D activities, and stimulate basically this entrepreneurial part of the economy. We are kind of lagging behind the United States, I would say, because of the market sizing and because of capital available. But on the other hand, we are doing quite well because we still are a very interesting pool of talents available at reasonable prices. There are certain areas, like for instance, software development, like what I describe, IT/media/telecom stuff, where we simply are leaders. Just to give you an example, in Poland, we have, for instance, Allegro or Znany Lekarz, which are very, very successful companies which originated because Poland was home to many software engineers, entrepreneurs who made it actually happen. Obviously, comparing to the States, it's not so visible, but if you compare it to other European countries, they don't have it. We do. So my prediction is that it's going to grow. We will also include people from more traditional scientific domains, all Polish polytechnics, universities. They will contribute. There will be more people with spin-offs of their academic research, creating whatever new cancer drugs, new advanced materials, and things like that, which we as industry will have to learn how to properly support their commercialization. And I think EU will be very happy to play ball and support funding. This is the basic part, the seed element, yes? Then most of that will not survive, sadly, but the ones who will get funding for further development. And that's very interesting because we have kind of structural gap here. So it's relatively easy to get your first million, but it's way more difficult to get next 20. And that's common truth. Everybody would agree. At some point, it's very difficult to raise money in Europe when you are later stage. I hope this issue will also be addressed, because if not, we will, let's say, bear the effort of developing that, and then someone else is coming and say, thank you very much, here's my money, yes? So that's not exactly what we want to see. We want to grow European champions, we want to grow Polish champions, and we need more of that. I hope it's gonna happen, and the condition to that is that investors will learn that it's actually a good business, and it is.
How about the regulatory aspect? I mean, the fact that, that currently, as things stand, the US and, I think probably we can put China into that box as well, are moving faster in the innovation space, and that the European Union is somehow lagging due to regulation. What do you think about that notion?
It is, but it's like a wake-up call. For instance, if you look at the trendy area of large language models, you have the recent creation, which is Mistral. That's a European enterprise. You have obviously American models. You have Chinese, which I don't even know. But for instance, you also have a Polish one called Bielik, which is quite impressive because in some aspects it's better trained than the other ones. Yes, and people laugh at those regulatory hurdles. I find them also inconvenient in many situations, but to some extent they create certain entry barriers behind which we could create something which is worth supporting. The big question is, will we still hide behind those barriers, or will we find a way to grow those small companies and compete globally? So to answer your question, funding is necessary, entrepreneurial spirit is necessary, because without that, you can waste as much money as you want and there will be no results. And regulations are sometimes helpful.
So you're looking at them as on the positive side. That's great. I love, your core thoughts that it's the people that are Poland's secret sauce, let's say, because ultimately I think that's the most valuable. I believe that's the most valuable of the aspects, because good ideas pop up all over the globe. Okay, money, you need to attract it, but people are either passionate and talented, or they're not, and they are absolutely the 100%. I think core heart of what drives forward any business, not only
very true. I would even say that's true for half of the continent. Yes. Central and Eastern Europe is actually very distinct, and very many people say it's the promised land now. There will be absolutely lots of money flowing into this area.
Well, I really hope that this is, what will happen. I'm really looking forward to another conversation when my iPhone is in your historic museum, requisites. And it'll be great to catch up again and see, what has happened with, your thoughts, with your predictions. So thank you very much, Michał.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you to our viewers. And join us next time for Startup with Poland.